goodness, Thomas, just when you think the tweets are getting a little dull, here he comes, and my goodness, I haven't seen so many juicy tweets all in one day, and we are looking at the tweets of December 7th, 2018.
Fiery tweets descending from heaven. I'm telling you, it's just amazing. I think Mueller, is there anything left of him after all of the tweet bombs that Trump has dropped on him? I don't think so.
Maybe he doesn't realize that this is the great information war. So we are going to pick up a few on December 6th that were in the evening that we've missed. And the first one reads, Trish Reagan, it's quote, "Did the FBI follow protocol to obtain the FISA warrant? I don't think so. The dossier was opposition research funded by opponents. Don't use government resources to take down political foes. Weaponizing government for gain," close quote. And then Trump tweets out, "Is this really America? Witch hunt."
Well, Trish, I'm glad that someone pinched you and you woke up, because what you just said is just the tip of the iceberg. Did the FBI follow protocol? The Inspector General report of 2016, December, stated that the FBI never followed protocol. In fact, the only single warrant, 702 warrant, filed that year was for Carter Page. And it was filed improperly, of course, because it was all lies, as this points out, because it was opposition research and it was all fake. Plus, it involved foreign agents, involved foreign countries, involved British spies, But the reality is that they didn't even bring that to a hearing. They only applied. So the 4 times that they put in that FISA warrant for Carter Page, they applied, but they did not have a hearing. In other words, the judges accepted it wholesale. Why? Because the name at the bottom, just like a national security letters, has to have one of the top officials sign off saying basically that they swear to the authenticity of what is in this report. And so basically those FISA court judges, Contreras and the others, just simply closed their eyes. They passed through 99.9% of all FISA court warrants, even though the Inspector General found them to be in complete noncompliance for domestic warrants and fantastic noncompliance for international. So, glad you're waking up there, Trish. Yes, the question that Trump asked is the real question.
Fake news, the enemy of the people.
Well, in this previous thing, he says, is this really America? Because this is treason. You can't use the government to fight your political battles, to win elections, and weaponize the government for your own gain. So, Trish, wake up. You needed to have the word treason, treason after that. And what Trump is saying is, are we in a Soviet socialist republic? Are we in a national socialist republic? Where are we? How could this happen in America? And just because you've already read it, fake news is illegal. It is racketeering. When you know you put out fake news and you did it with more than one agency, that is a conspiracy. That is collusion, and that is, in fact, against the law. And we should start to see some of this slow down now after the midterms, and we should start to see some people get very, very nervous that the more that they want to attack conservatives are attacking back. And the attack that's going to be on them, RICO charges, monopoly charges, charges for violating the Broadcasting Act, Section 230, and so many other things that they should be charged with, because these are national security issues.
Yeah, should be. Oh, yes, should be. But nothing ever happens.
Well, some little things happen, but they're just not big enough to make you and me happy. Or is that you and I happy?
Okay, so then the quote next is, and remember, folks, if you want to read these quotes, just go into the link that's in the description box. Arizona, together with our military and border patrol, is bracing for a massive surge at a non-walled area. We will not let them through. Big danger. Nancy and Chuck must approve border security and the wall. But of course, we know now, this is the quote's over, Nancy and Chuck are globalists, so they want invaders to come into America.
They sure do. And also the other side, the Republicans want all kinds of immigrants to come in.
Yes, they're globalists on that side too.
It's just that they want cheap labor. They want to be able to hire people with higher degrees from foreign countries that don't even go through any immigration vetting or anything else. Because why? They can take these high-paid jobs for low pay. Well, what's happening in Arizona? This has been going on now for weeks. They've been catching hundreds of people crossing in Arizona in basically a vulnerable area. And every single day they catch people, but every few days they literally catch hundreds. And so I guess, as we had shown, that it was odd that they went a much longer distance to go to Tijuana for the caravan to end up in Tijuana, because they could have gone to much shorter distances to go to the border to enter into America. But Texas doesn't like these illegal immigrants. Arizona doesn't like the illegal immigrants. And so probably what we're going to see...
They're not illegal immigrants. They're alien invaders.
Thank you very much. And so what's going to happen? Well, I guess we're just going to have a lot more militarization instantaneously, stopping these people, and have plenty of law enforcement there to make sure they do not enter into the country. That has always been the solution. They should not be able to enter the country. Then all of these problems stop, and hundreds of billions of dollars spent on these, what did you call them, invaders?
Alien invaders. And
Alien
see, that's
invaders.
what they do. It's a trick you have to pay attention to. They use these soft little words, it's a headscarf. It's just a fashion accessory. And then the next thing is, it's just a hijab. It's our religion, and on and on. The next thing you know, women have to be fully covered up. So, folks, you need to look at the soft language and see where people's end goal is. And if you see the end goal is something that's being un-American, then stop it at the very beginning. And so when you see them called migrants, and don't buy into this. They're alien invaders. Call it out the way it is.
Well, them alien invaders are attacking us. On the southern border, we have a war with Mexico because Mexico is aiding them. Mexico and the drug cartels, Mexico and the drugs, Mexico and the human trafficking, Mexico and the endless murders. Has anyone even totaled up this year the thousands of people who have been found murdered on the southern border in Mexico? I don't think so, because the number will be too big, and then we'll know that we are in one of the most incredible danger zones on the globe, right here in our southern border. So what will Trump do? He told us he's not going to let them through. And that's good. And they can slowly apply for asylum, and if they actually meet asylum requirements, then maybe they can get in some of these places. But otherwise, just don't let them in. And we are under attack not just by Mexico. This is China, Russia, Venezuela, Cuba, Iran, and all the rest. This is Al-Qaeda, ISIS. That caravan has every enemy of America in it, probably. If not, certainly the most vehement ones.
Hence, they are alien invaders.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to read, these all tweets are all about Robert Mueller, but let's break them down. First one. Robert Mueller and Leakin, Lyin, James Comey are best friends, just one of many Mueller conflicts of interest. And by the way, wasn't the woman in charge of prosecuting Jerome Corsi, who I do not know, in charge of legal at the corrupt Clinton Foundation? A total witch hunt.
Yes, she is, to answer his question. And I love Leakin, Lyin, James Comey. Leakin, Lyin. I like the little twist on that. Because he's one of the biggest leakers. We know it. He came out and told everybody he leaked. And lying, we saw him commit perjury so many times on the air, during testimony, under oath, that no one could be a bigger liar than him, except, Hillary Clinton. But
I do not want him to go down for some silly charge of perjury. This guy needs to go down because of treason. And we should accept, American people, we should accept nothing less for him, Mueller, Brennan, the whole gang. What they've done is commit treason against the United States of America.
Absolutely. Sedition, treason. These are attacks against the executive branch, against all of America, against our Constitution. We are under a constitutional assault as well as literally a physical assault. And we have described all of these things to show you that we are in a second American Revolution being led by Donald J. Trump. If he wasn't there, that would have been the end of the Republic, folks. And what we see with the Mueller investigation, I'm not going to get into the background today because I do it so many times, but I am going to say this. They're all SES members. Don't forget that. every single member of Mueller's group became an SES member, and they were given $100 million to do the investigation, because that's already set up, you see. So what we're talking about here, the conflicts of interest that Trump has pointed out, he is hammering on Mueller because in the end, now that he is placing William Barr as his offering for confirmation for the Attorney General, and now that we know that Matt Whitaker, both of them have already spoken out saying that yes, Hillary needs to be investigated. Both of them have already said that Robert Mueller's fake investigation, they didn't say fake, I added that Mueller's investigation is improper and it's gone too far. It wasn't properly conscribed. It wasn't properly created. I could go on and on. Of course, there was no crime. There's no crime called conspiracy against the United States. And so later today, I will mention the fact that they tried to pin conspiracy on Michael Cohen. So we'll see if that sticks, because that's the only people who have anything to do with conspiracy, and that has nothing to do with the conspiracy charge against Trump.
Will Robert Mueller's big-time conflicts of interest be listed at the top of his Republicans-only report? Will Andrew Weissman's horrible and vicious prosecutorial past be listed in the report? He wrongly destroyed people's lives, took down great companies, only to be overturned 9-0 in the United States Supreme Court. Doing same thing to people now. With all of the substantial and many contributions made by the 17 angry Democrats to the campaign of crooked Hillary be listed in top of report?
Yes, they will be. Because why? That's why he's talking about it. That's why Rudy Giuliani, who we predicted would not be even considered to be the Attorney General because he's too corrupt. But Rudy Giuliani told us exactly how it went the whole time and exactly what he's going to put in his response, so it's already written. We already knew that, and anybody who doubts that just didn't pay any attention. And we know that Rudy Giuliani holds over Robert Mueller's head the fact that he knows that Robert Mueller was part of 9/11. More than part, he was the major leader of the team of the cover-up. He was the cover-up. And Rudy Giuliani was there and witnessed it that day, and I can go into why Giuliani had to have known ahead of time. But anyway, the point is, they got Giuliani to muscle Mueller, and so Mueller was slightly muscled. But really, what has happened? Exactly what we predicted would happen. Even at the moment that Comey was fired, we predicted that there would be a special counsel appointed. It would be Robert Mueller. He would go after the low-hanging fruit, which would be just stupid people on Trump's team, that's exactly the definition, the useful idiot, Carter Page, the absolutely naive George Papadopoulos, Sam Clovis, Sam, why did you go to dinner with Stephen Halper? He is a British spy, and all of the other ones that they attacked. But what Trump is talking about in this specific tweet is that Andrew Weissman is the dirtiest lawyer in America. He uses intimidation, coercion as legal weapons. He produces false evidence. He attacks people. And almost every single one of his decisions, like 9 out of 10, are overturned at a higher court. Because why? He used dirty dealing when he prosecuted it or defended it so that it would, in fact,
but it's not right, because the people that he's prosecuting still have to have legal fees. They have to defend themselves. They may even have to put their homes up for second mortgages to pay for this. So he's destroying them, and that's what the intent is. The intent is not for any justice. It's to destroy who you perceive your enemy to be.
Only 2 countries in the world still use grand juries. They are star chambers. They are nothing more than a kangaroo court. They're a non-hanging court, usually, because they take criminal politicians and very high-placed elite and make sure that they have a secret trial with special judges that are impaneled, and that the evidence in a grand jury is so weird. Don't get me started on it. It's the craziest thing ever. It shouldn't exist. And so the second you send something to a grand jury, it's convicted. But Andrew Weissman is the person who went in and demanded to have Donald Trump's transition papers from when he got elected, from the time he got elected till the inaugural date. Those are all very carefully stored, and it's all these federal processes. He went in and demanded them, and they said, no, you can't have them. So he went in on the day that the guy who was in charge wasn't there and went ahead and took them.
Yeah.
This is who Andrew Weissman is. These illegal activities will be in the 87-page report, demonstrating that this entire investigation is completely bogus and never once looked in the direction of where the true Russian collusion was. Because Hillary and Bill Clinton are Russian communist spies. They're also Chinese communist spies. What don't you understand about that, anyone who looks at it? They gave money to Russia like it was going out of style. They became rich through China and sold us out to China. Bill and Hillary are communists, the worst of all. They're globalist communists. They're a whole new breed, even beyond George H.W. Bush.
Will the people that worked for the Clinton Foundation be listed at the top of the report? Will the scathing document written about Lyin James Comey by the man in charge of the case, Rod Rosenstein, who also signed the FISA warrant, be a big part of the report? Isn't Rod, therefore, totally conflicted?
In other words, Rod, you can step down now anytime. I'll accept your resignation the next time you turn it in. Remember, he's tried 5 times to step down so that he won't be questioned. Trump refused to take
But he's more than
his
conflicted.
resignation.
He is another traitor. He also needs to go down for treason.
Oh, absolutely. He signed the FISA court warrant. He was there all the way back to the early 80s when patent theft became the number one way to steal money and to destabilize America. He is the national security violations that he's created would be as long as both my arms. Rod Rosenstein, Rat Rodenstein, can't get out of this now. He's going to have to take the fall because he persisted through the Mueller investigation, never even allowing them to look in the direction of a Democrat where the crimes were a Russian communist, that would be Hillary Clinton, and another Russian communist, John Podesta, who received so much money from Russia through Jewel Limited and through all of his other dealings. He was representing also Ukrainians at the same time. So this man, Podesta, the head of her campaign, is worse than a Russian spy. He is a communist beyond imagination, but he's a globalist corporate communist who always wants to bring the money back to himself. He's one of the most powerful men in Washington, D.C., and we believe that we have taken him down because of all that has happened with the fact that his emails can be read by people, and you can see that he hated blacks, he hated Jews, he hated Catholics, he hated everyone, and he stated that. The things that he said in his emails show that he is one of the most vile creatures on the face of the earth. And this man has come to no justice after spending $12 million through Fusion GPS, creating the Russian dossier, which should be treason, sedition, meddling in the election. This is an attack upon our Constitution. And yet what happens? What's going to happen is this. Let's see if I get his name right. Matt Whitaker and William Barr. I think they call him Bill Barr. William Barr?
Bar none.
Bar none. We need to bar no holds. We need to put them behind bars. He needs to use the bar in the way that Jeff Sessions didn't use it. And he needs to simply have not even a vicious attack upon Hillary, simply the slightest investigation that had the speck of truth, ethics, or any reality to it would put Hillary behind bars. And once that happens, then the rest of them all fall because they won't be endangered because Hillary will be behind bars. Bill will be there with her, by the way.
And the next tweet is, will all of the lying and leaking by the people doing the report, and also Bruce Orr and his lovely wife Molly, which should be Nellie, Comey, Brennan, Clapper, and all of the many fired people of the FBI be listed in the report? Will the corruption within the DNC and the Clinton campaign be exposed? And so much more. What is the so much more there?
Well, oh, you kidding? All the criminality, all that's being hidden by Michael Horowitz, Andrew McCabe's 5 massive crimes that he committed, covering up uranium-1 for 10 years, Mueller covering up uranium-1 for 10 years, all of this corruption. Frank Giustra, how the $100 million given to a separate fund, not even the Clinton Foundation. The Clinton Foundation, $145 million over the uranium-1. He could have gone on and on and on. And the list of all the people who have quit are the terrified people who even gave up, some of them, of their SES jobs to get out of Dodge, because there's a new sheriff in town, and they were very, 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 very nervous. Now, is Horowitz going to bring forth the crimes of Bruce Orr, the crimes of Comey, Brennan, and the other heads of the 17 intelligence community that were part of this? 17 agencies participated in this. Everyone at the head participated. That includes the State Department. That includes the FBI, CIA.
That includes Obama.
It's Obama. It's right through the top. It's the National Security Council. It's the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. It's the DIA. It's the NSA. Nobody's not guilty. Obama broke many, many, many laws to cause this to be able to happen. And we're talking about a conspiracy that was with Russia. And it was with China. Because Hillary is a Russian Chinese communist. Make no mistake about that. She sat and does sit on the board of the Walton family. She still gets a piece of the pie from everything sold at Walmart, folks, because her husband sold us out through the World Trade Organization and allowed China to receive, for the first time in history, most favored nation trading status. And then they entered finally into the World Trading Organization, which has ruined it. So we're going to be talking later about dark money and the way that works. But let's just remember, these people are criminal.
Well, we've been reporting this now for well over a year. Wouldn't you say? Well over a year, up to 2 years. We've been showing you all this stuff. And so the next step is we've already shown you how Stephen Halper is associated with Christopher Steele and how all of this planning and operations works itself all the way back to the Queen. And it's all going to come out.
It should. I mean, it has. What am I saying? There have been some very good books written that tell the storyline that we tell it. Not quite in the detail that we give you, but at least it's the same exact storyline. So, Felix Sater. Who did you first hear that name from? That would be us. Felix Sater and the Russian Trump tower deals, who first described to you exactly how that worked. That the only money ever involved was Felix Sater investing himself money into the project, and that it was such a scam that by the time that Ivanka and Don Jr. had gone to the third trip with Felix Sater, they said, "You're an idiot. You're a liar. This is a setup." That was one of 28 setups, don't forget, that were created by James Leakin, Lyin, Comey.
Okay, next tweet. China talks are going very well.
Now, some people may laugh at that because the man who's probably one of the, right up there with Jack Ma, is the guy who owns the second largest telecommunication company in the world, Huawei, however you want to pronounce that, Huawei, or it's actually not pronounced that way. But the point is that his daughter just got caught because she broke the Iranian sanctions and gave Hewlett-Packard materials and all kinds of materials to the Iranians. And so she got arrested. Oh, you want to talk about a little chip that was just given to Mr. Trump as he's playing this high-level poker game with totalitarian dictator, communist, friend of Hillary, Xi Jinping. So, what chip did Trump just be given? Oh, he can let her out. He can free up the daughter of probably the second biggest business oligarch in China at this moment, if he wants to. Or he could put her in jail. Because remember, China breaks every sanction. When we put sanctions on North Korea, China broke it 6 times in a row, blatantly, and that was the times they got caught. And then they were brought to the UN, and the UN said, we're going to have to put sanctions on you, and they said no. Now remember, the UN is a farce, because the UN Security Council has our 2 biggest enemies on it, Russia and China, our number 1 enemy. And why would they agree with anything with us, Britain, and the other people on the Security Council? Of course they won't. The United Nations was created just to cause the ability for these things to happen so that China can break the sanctions on North Korea, China can break the sanctions on Iran, China can break the sanctions on anybody they want. They can break any law they want. Oh, bring it to the United Nations and we'll have a vote about it, and I can tell you what the vote's going to be. It's kind of like, send it on up to the Supreme Court. Why? I can tell you what the vote's going to be. This is absurd what we're dealing with here. So he just got, with the China deal, one of the big chips in his pocket. Plus, remember, the longer he waits, the better it is for him. He's bringing them to their knees. And what are you seeing? You're seeing Facebook, which was supposed to basically wholesale move to China. I don't know if people understand that. But Google, Facebook, all of those social media have been transformed. They moved to China by the same oligarchs, the Silicon Valley, Eric Schmidt and Dude Zuckerberg and Peter Thiel. They've moved this stuff, and John Breyer. They've moved it to China, and they were banking on China being the new world power. They forgot that China's communists. Hillary didn't forget China's communists. She had a really good deal with Walmart and still does to this day. And she's moved her...
Well, with all this money, why is she running around trying to do tours, getting $5 a seat? I mean, what's up with the money flow with her?
Because we've busted her. She moved her crypto keys to Shanghai. She moved many of her things into companies in Singapore and Shanghai, which are really Chinese. And they were banking on China becoming the big power because she banked on being the president, which she was going to sell out America and she was going to move the forces where Henry Kissinger told her to move them to, which is the focus of China. But they didn't count on China being communist. How stupid could they possibly be?
Well, we are talking about Hillary Clinton, you know.
Well, she's the one who gave the Skolkovo tech city. She made companies give them $1 billion and build them facilities so that they could catch up with our technology so we could say we're in a Cold War with them again. That's just ridiculous. Folks, sit back, relax, get in your swimming pool.
No, don't tell people to trust the plan or relax. Everybody needs to be engaged in what they can do to educate and enlighten their circle of influence.
Trump is winning the Chinese war on all fronts.
That's right. You can relax about that, but you can't, in this day and age, you can't sit back and do nothing.
No, he's fighting them tooth
No,
and
we
fang.
have to support Trump. And the best way we can is to get other citizens to understand what's really happening in the world. Because the fake news is not going to tell you. They are truly the enemy. They work with the globalists to keep our fellow citizens brainwashed and programmed. So it's our job, patriots, to go and start waking people up with whatever level of information they can handle. For example, I just told my kids about smart meters and how they just burst into flames. I showed them pictures. I showed them what happened in the California fires. Now, they can't take much more of that in. They just took that immediate danger and said, whoa, these things ought not be on anybody's home. I said, I know, it's crazy. And you know, there's some other studies that show that a lot of those homes in California, they were zapped by the electric company and they just were annihilated. And so I found a device you can put over that smart meter, a little cage, a little stainless steel cage, and you can find them everywhere. So I just gave it to my boys and said, why don't you just put this over your smart meter? You see, that's all they can handle at this point in their lives because they're busy building their careers. So when you look out to try to help people to wake up, try to do it at the level that they can receive that knowledge.
Yes, they're not ready to hear that the aluminum, the magnesium, the borium, the strontium, all the different metals that had been sprayed over those areas that then were hit with some type of directed energy weapon, burst those houses into flames that basically was the same type of burning of 911. It's called thermite, people. Yes. It's the same substance. And once you ignite it with a high frequency ignition, you can't stop it. And so we can't tell them that. We can't tell them that the thermite in the World Trade Center was then... Remember, they didn't let anybody get anywhere near it, and they put it on a ship and said they shifted it all the way over to China. And then later they said, oh, no. We took all that metal and we made a ship out of it here in America, a battleship. And it's like, lies. All lies. They didn't want the thermite to be found. Well, a lady took a bucket of the remains of the metals and the ashes from 9/11, and it was completely thick with thermite. Thermite is what takes down buildings. It is what is used in a controlled demolition, and it continues to burn for a long time. The fuel from the planes couldn't have taken down the World Trade Center.
You know what'll happen now? We'll have a little banner underneath our YouTube video, but they'll have to compete because we've said the word chemtrails. We've said 9/11. Why don't we add Rothschilds in there? What are some of the other trigger words? Because what's happening is Google YouTube wants to re-educate you. So whenever your favorite creators are talking about these subjects, then YouTube comes in and tells you the real story. So expect some bars at the end of this video.
Yeah, the Digital Research Forensic Laboratories, which was $1.5 billion gift of the Atlantic Council and George Soros to Facebook, and also I'm sure they gave it to Google and everyone else, is now in our system, and it is checking. It is the New Truth Ministry. So you will see, it's actually a badge of honor when we get one of those put at the bottom of our...
No, it's not. It's complete garbage. It's corporate garbage, and it needs to stop. Free speech needs to be free speech. All right, there's a Betsy bomb. Now let's move on. It has been incorrectly reported that Rudy Giuliani and others will not be doing a counter to the Mueller report. This is fake news. Already 87 pages done, but obviously cannot complete until we see the final witch hunt report.
I'm going to try to go short on this, but
No.
The deal is we may only see his report because if good old Matt Whitaker, did I get it right?
Yep.
And William Barr could say, nope, this can't be seen by the public because of executive privilege. Because Trump answered a small set of questions that covered the entire comprehensive witch hunt and the aspects of the witch hunt. So if he wants, his counsel can say, and the DOJ, Department of Justice, through Whitaker and Barr, if he gets in there soon enough, and if the witch hunt is over soon enough, they can simply say, no, we're not going to release this to the public. This is an internal report. If there were no indictments, and by the way, those indictments, if you even knew the name of the person before that indictment, it is not a valid indictment because the grand jury has been compromised. I've said this from day one. There have been leaks from Mueller's stupid special investigation and grand jury every day. Every day. That means every single time. And what's it been? 2 years, $40 million. And what do we find out? Everything that is against Trump has been leaked, and each leak should have taken the entire investigation down. So that's going to be also at the top of the page.
But it's not going to, because this is not an operation to find out about Russia. This is an operation to take down Donald Trump. So, when are people going to start calling it out what it is? It's a coup d'etat run by Herr SS or Herr SES Robert Mueller and the Senior Executive Service.
John Clapper, John Brennan, Crossfire Hurricane. That's what it was, a counterintelligence operation, black ops, to take out a candidate and then Trump elect and then Trump president. Still going on, folks. And we have already seen credible evidence and presented it to you that this is also a physical threat of assassination to our president, and nothing happens. Michael Horowitz should end up in Guantanamo Bay.
Well, he's a senior executive service person, and so is that John Huber, so you can't expect anything from these SES people. Now, I got to go check. Is that William Barr, SES? Is he one of those SES judges? But I'm sure you're going to tell us about that a little bit down the road. Now, today is December 7th as we're reading these, so there is an acknowledgement for Pearl Harbor, but we are in the flow with Mueller. I'd like to move to the next tweet. We will be doing a major counter report to the Mueller report. This should never again be allowed to happen to a future president of the United States.
Which means we have to lock up those doing it now. We have to stop those agencies having power to do so. We have to stop national security letters. We have to close the FISA court. Very simple. We have to clean up the DOJ. That means probably 3/4 of them have to go. We have to clean up the FBI. I'm sorry, but probably 4/5 of them have to go. We have to basically do what John F. Kennedy got killed for. Close the CIA and go after the rogue CIA and get their gold. And we would change the entire economy of the world if we simply grabbed the 2,000 companies owned by rogue CIA, which are ex-CIA members, as well as globalists who just get in on the show, like a Kissinger. Kissinger gets his piece of all the pies. Make no mistake about it. He's the one who, with Daddy Bush, was sitting around with Cheney and Rumsfeld and others just devising this evil. Adnan Khashoggi, these people all got together. These were friends, folks. These were the most evil people on the earth, and they got together. And hey, when George Soros shows up, everybody listens because he gives them money. They're such stooges they don't even know. He's giving them money to control them. That man stole that money to give it to those non-government organizations. And yet, they simply go out and virtue signal Black Lives Matter, Antifa, Southern Poverty Law Center. Mm-hmm. And so many, 184 other ones, are the same organizations that Barack Obama gave his stolen money, because Barack Obama stole tons of money from the government and gave it to those very organizations. And this is coming out, and it was coming out like once a week. Now it's slowed down a little bit, but already the crimes of Obama, there's going to have to be an investigation. There's no way that Obama can have literally, I can list for you right now 50 crimes of Obama where he stole money from us and used it for his own purposes. But I'm not going to get into that. The point is that we need to go to the next tweet.
Yes. Heather Newhart has been nominated to serve as United Nations ambassador. And he thanks Ambassador Nikki Haley for her great service to our country. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. And then he's announcing that the Honorable William P. Barr for the position of Attorney General of the United States as the former AG for George H.W. Bush. And one of the most highly respected lawyers and legal minds in the country. He will be a great addition to our team. I look forward to having him join our very successful administration. Oh my God, we have to continue putting people in that work for these sleazy mass murder globalist Bushes? Is there no one else in this country?
The person who needs to be the next Attorney General needs to be as aware of all the corruption that there is, because that's who he's fighting. And that's who's, through the SES, is just going to flood his office and sit in his office and tell him what to do. And he needs to say, I'm an SES member. Get out of my office. And then simply go to the SES headquarters and have the union, because it is a union, tell the SES members to back off and see if he is an SES member, he can work through the SES.
Did somebody force this on Trump?
No, he chose him because this guy's, he's not too dirty, and he was Ronald Reagan's guy. But Ronald Reagan, remember, was attempted assassination by George H.W. Bush. And so this guy only worked for Reagan and then for a couple years, and then he got out and he moved all over the place. And so he's got not too bad of a record, not too corrupt, but he knows the corruption, and he knows it from inside out, and he also knows corporate corruption, and so on and so forth. That's what you have to have. You have to have somebody who can know that and get past the confirmation hearings, because this confirmation hearing could go on forever, and he could be turned down if he would have put a Rudy Giuliani or a Joe DiGenevo or any of those people, or Judge Janine, or one of the most popular people in America. He could have put up all kinds of crazy people. No, he's going to put up a fighter, and this fighter has already said, William Barr has already said, as well as Matthew Whitaker, mm-hmm. that yes, they believe that Hillary should be tried.
Okay, but that's their belief. When are we going to see some action? When are we going to see that bitch locked up?
I cannot believe you called the Hildebeest.
I'm tired of
such
it.
A name. Oh my
she
goodness.
is a global criminal, and it's not just the America's problem. It's a problem for the whole world. So we're calling on all the countries in the world. Let's get Hillary.
120 nations she ripped off when she was the Secretary of State. And yes, all her crimes can't even be enumerated, and yet she goes completely scot-free with absolute impunity. She does the worst deeds of anyone in America, and certainly she has ripped off all these nations through her foundation. She's ripped them off through bad deals with the Secretary of State when she had the power of the USAID to give out $86 billion. Look at where that money went. it went into her friends who then donated it back to her in every single case. It is unbelievable. Oh, you just posted on Tweet News Headlines a beautiful poster of some of the corruption of the Clintons. And yes, if the Clinton Foundation cannot be charged and indicted and Hillary and Bill go to jail.
No, we want them. You know what I'm going to say, and
I
I'm
know
not
what you're
going to
gonna
say it because I'll get another banner up. Folks, this is just, it's crimes against humanity of the whole world. Our people are suffering because of these globalists. And give a salute out to the French patriots for doing what they're doing with the Yellow Vest March. And I hear it's spreading all over Europe. It's about the globalists. They are the problem. We need to take them out so that we can truly have peace and prosperity on the earth.
Well, I liked your who looks better there on Truth News Headlines, where there was Macron's crone wife.
No, I asked who was the Neanderthal. I'll put that picture in the link below, so don't say anything more about it. It'll be a little surprise. Now, can you wrap up today's session for us?
Because there's Macron, and he puts a tax hike so that he can save up money for the Paris Climate Accord, steal it from his people, to give it. Who would he have given his money to? China and Russia. Think that through, folks. The Paris Climate Accord reapportioned wealth throughout the world. It was stealing from the rich, giving to the sinners, giving to the criminals. In other words, we in America, who are doing our best to try to handle these things, are going to have money stolen from us and given to China and Russia because they don't care. Well, that's completely absurd. So what's going on in France, just as Betsy said, we may have to rise up and go out on the streets. That's a fact. We may literally have to say, we're going to camp in Washington, D.C. until all SES members are reduced to the rate of $1 a year. And that is a legal thing to do. There's a clause that allows that. And then when they leave, then what we're going to see is the organization that controls America through the federal government. It's a shadow government. Many people call it the deep state, but it's deep state is globalism, and that's much, much bigger. This is America's shadow government. No joke. Once we're rid of them, and once we downsize the federal government and take away most of these federal courts and do some of the things that Trump is actively working on that we put on our list of the 12 things that could change America and create a new second American Revolution, he's working on every one of them. And we predict behind the scenes that some of them he's working on much harder than anyone knows. So it is an honor always to attempt to decode Trump tweets because we know that these Trump tweets allow us to have a man in the White House that's on our side.